The NBA playoffs have started. Tom Browning joins us later in the show. And is Fernando Tatis the devil? This is the We Don't Know Sports Podcast. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the We Don't Know Sports Podcast. This is Chad the Mark with
Canadian Biggie
and Mr. Brown.
And we are ready for a fun show. We got a great guest coming up. If you paid attention to the intro anyway, you'll find out a lot of stuff from Mr. Tom Browning later in the show. But guys, we had a pretty eventful weekend. Are you recovered from our fantasy football draft?
Took a few hours, but I'm feeling good now.
A few hours.
A few days.
Took me a few days. Now I got freaking bunions.
How do you get bunions from a football draft?
I don't know. I walked 30,000 steps, and now I've got these abnormalities on my foot.
Maybe you have gout.
Maybe.
When you're the commissioner, you have more responsibility on your shoulders on draft day.
The belt did look heavy when you carried it out.
No, it was. I'll probably never have to wear it, but that might be okay.
Hey, you know what? The bright, shiny new hardcore football championship looked nice. It's sad that it's in another state right now. It'll be in Missouri for the time being, but I feel like we have to get it back somehow.
It's definitely a one-year adventure there in Missouri, in my opinion, because there's nothing Sevilla's going to do to repeat. We actually have Mr. Number 1 overall draft as a special guest appearance here today, so he's looking to take him down.
Oh, we had Jake with the best overall draft, and that is not his typical performance. So now the bar is set high. I'm just wondering if he can live up to the pressure.
I think he'll handle it just nice, just fine.
So speaking of some NFL news, there's not a lot going on. I know teams are just now in like their summer camp and whatnot, but I did see where they're not going to have cheerleaders or mascots at the games now. Is that devastating for you to hear?
The cheerleaders, yes. The mascots, well, yes, because I'm a Mountaineers fan. I like that musket going off. I don't care. I want the musket everywhere.
So, I mean, some teams don't even have cheerleaders, but I guess if you're Dallas, that's the only reason to watch, right?
Debbie does Dallas.
We're on fire out of the gate, fellas. So, Mr. Brown has no comment on this, right?
What do you say?
You could care less. Did you see? I just now saw this for the first time. We had a lot of fun making fun of Booger McFarland last year and the Monday Night Crew. They have announced the Monday Night Football Crew. Have you seen who it is?
I saw Louis Riddick is now a part of the Monday Night Crew.
It's Steve Levy, Louis Riddick, and Brian Greasy.
Not a big fan of Brian Greasy. I think he's in there because his daddy did it for a long time. He's been on college football for a while. He doesn't suck, but he's not good. But Louis Riddick's the best addition they could have made. That guy sharp.
So who rides around on the crane now?
I don't know if they're going to continue to do that monstrosity, but either way. Now, Biggie has no one to thank the Buffalo Bills fans throw phallic objects at now.
Bills Mafia. They got nothing left now. Don't put Brian Greasy through tables.
I'd watch that.
Yeah.
But I'm not excited about it at all. Monday Night Football is just, it's garbage. It sucks.
What happened to Peyton Manning and his forehead going to the booth? That was going to be exciting.
I think he wanted too much cheddar, man. He wanted like millions upon millions of dollars to call one game a week, and it just wasn't going to happen.
After their ratings tank and they have to almost close their network at the end of this season, they'll give him $1 million a game.
And I can't say I blame him because the dude makes outstanding money on endorsements. So, why wouldn't he shoot for that knowing that they really need him? You know what I mean?
I think some of it might be that Romo has set the bar so high for former quarterbacks that, even though we know Peyton Manning is a better quarterback, there's no way he can live up to the bar set by Mr. Tony Romo.
Yeah, I mean, there's only so many Jason Wittens who can say the reason that he's leaving the booth isn't because he sucks, but because he's going back to play football.
He's so bad he's in the league again.
As a Raiders fan, I wish he was still in the booth.
He might give some good veteran leadership to your young tight end there.
No, it's pissing me off because I know Gruden, and he's going to be taking away Waller's targets and giving them to Witten just because he's a veteran.
He does like the old guys. Two things left real quick on the NFL. So in our fantasy draft, I'm looking at the board here, and we have a participant we call Big Perm. He took Darius Geis, correct? Was that Jake? I thought it was Big Perm.
Jake drafted so well, he was able to draft Geis and still get rated number 1 by Yahoo.
So Jake is the one that drafted him. Still got the best overall draft. So now today, just hours ago, I saw where two former LSU students came out and accused him of rape now. So he is done. He's not coming back, right?
I don't think so. I just saw that happen. Must have just come out today, or today's first time I saw it. Not in the league. Couldn't stay healthy. He's not back on a roster. He's done.
Once he got on that bad radar, they started coming out of the woodwork. They're like, let me tell you how bad of a guy this guy really is.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's more of a referendum on who he is as a person or LSU as a whole.
Either way.
Of course, it comes out after a national championship.
Either way, it's not good. All right, last thing I got on the NFL. Did you see the guy? Well, let me ask you this. If you had $5,000 to put on anything as far as betting goes, what would you put $5,000 on?
That the Patriots will not win a Super Bowl.
I don't know what the odds are on that, but that's a sure bet.
What would you put your money on, Chad?
Well, this one guy decided to put it on the Bengals for their opportunity to win it, get the number one seed in the playoffs for the AFC. So $5,000 would pay out $1.2 million.
And all they have to do is go like 13-3 and then lose in a divisional round, and he gets that.
Hey, you don't know how many games they're playing. There might be a technicality they could get on. What if they have?
It could be like baseball where it goes off of winning percentages. You could have the Marlins who live in Magic City, all these different teams. They play 15 less games. They have it by winning percentage. You could have a 7-2 Bengals team as the one seed.
Hey, you know what? There's people that lose $5,000 on dumber bets than that. Well, maybe not, but at least the payout is $1.2 million. That's not too shabby.
When I get to the point in life where I can afford to lose $5,000 on a bet that dumb, I've made it.
So I know we've had a little bit of trouble trying to digest our energy to watch the NBA, but we're in the playoffs officially now. And I just want to say that the Bucks and the Lakers are 0-1 in the playoffs. What the hell is going on? And I know one game's not the definition of a series, but still, this is craziness.
Dame time, baby. Carmelo's finally going to get the better of LeBron.
Carmelo.
Well, he's on the Blazers, so we're considering him part of the reason that the Lakers are going to go down in the first round.
This is Lillard's coming out party. I know it's in the bubble, but like now I'm seeing questions surface on social media like, who would you take, Dame or Steph Curry? He's elevated himself to that level because he had that one stat was just him and Wilt Chamberlain.
Well, and then there was the stat about, like, he's the most accurate guy from, 30 feet away, I guess?
He's got more 30 to 40-foot three-point shots in the last
two seasons than Curry does his whole career.
Yep. I don't know. The Blazers were in the Western Conference Finals last year. It's not like this should be his coming out party. You should know more who he is, but if he played New York instead of Portland, you'd know.
He started so bad, though.
Yeah. I mean, when I say coming out party, I'm talking about, like, you're elevating him to, like, LeBron status, Curry status, the Greek Freak status.
Going from being an all-star to a superstar.
We know who he is, but now everyone knows who he is.
Yep.
I felt like that play last year where, it's been memed 1,000 times after he hits that three.
Yeah, looks back.
He's just got that stoic look on his face. Like, that's what kind of put him on the map initially. But you're right. Like, I don't think one game does it. But if they find a way, thankfully, please do it. Beat the Lakers. Then yeah, man, he's the number one jersey seller, damn it.
Absolutely. This is the worst possible matchup for the Lakers. They want no part of the Blazers in the 8th seed, but they're here to play, and I think it's going to go the distance. If not, the Blazers wrap it up early. Paul Pierce said this today. I don't know if you've seen it. He says that if LeBron doesn't win this year, it's going to affect his legacy. He's the number one seed. Quit talking about the GOAT, because if the Blazers take out LeBron this year, quit talking about the GOAT.
Now, Paul Pierce usually says some really moronic things, but I have to agree with that one.
Yeah, he kind of has a little bit of a hater edge when it comes to LeBron, but some of the stuff he says really hits the nail on the head, and this is one of them. And I'll follow it up with one thing. Michael Jordan, Chicago Bulls, is the number one seed in the playoffs, never lost a first-round game.
Hey, speaking of Michael Jordan, what is that? What is that on the table there?
That's the iconic last shot. You have the background's all black and white. MJ's there in collar. So you can emphasizes the little kid in the background holding up the 6 fingers. It's a pretty sweet portrait that we got for the man cave.
New addition to the man cave.
Yeah, it's sweet.
Awesome.
I will say this: Giannis, the Bucks, they'll rebound. They'll be fine.
Well,
they'll still come through.
How do you say that guy's name for Orlando? Vucevic?
Vucevic.
Yep. So all this talk about Giannis that he could stop Shaq. He can't even stop Vujic or whatever his name is. He dropped 35, had 49 rebounds and 38 assists and 42 blocks or so. I don't know. Like, you can't even stop this guy from the Magic. We talk about Dame Lillard being a household name. Who the hell's this guy?
Giannis, I saw a meme and it hit the nail on the head. It just had 4 pictures of halfback dive from the goal line set, and it said Giannis on the top. And that's his thing. I'm going to run everybody over and dunk it because I can dunk from the 3-point line instead of using what he has done to expand his game and become league MVP. That'll get corrected before game 2.
Not only that, he has surrounding weapons. You got Middleton, you got the other cast. I mean, like, it's not...
Yeah, they're 3-point machine.
They're not a bad team. You got the Lopez boys. You know what I mean? It is what it is. Let the other guys, if they quadruple you down and just swarm you, kick it out.
And Orlando, they don't have their dunk machine playing, right? Isn't he hurt?
Yeah.
What's wrong with him?
I think he's got a sandy badge.
We talking about Mr. Rucker Park himself, right?
What's his name? Aaron
Gordon.
Aaron Gordon.
Yeah.
He's still upset that he didn't win the slam dunk contest. He feels like the judges robbed him.
Those are championships that matter.
I mean, he's probably mad that that short, stubby fellow took him out in Rucker Park with a bank shot. That is the definition of a sandy badge.
Well, they don't need him apparently because they got the new Shaq down there in Orlando, following the same career trajectory, going to Orlando, making playoff noise. You know what, Giannis? You ain't got it, buddy. Actually, it's just one game. They're probably going to dominate the next 4, and it's going to be over. But I'm just saying that you can't let him show you up like that.
I think the Bucks will still make the Eastern Conference. However, the team to watch out for is the Toronto Raptors. They lost Kawhi. They're the best well-rounded team in the East. They're up 2-0 already. They've already won today. You got some ballers and some bulldogs in that team.
Why are they so good?
They're best coached team in the league.
Is that? I mean, can we really say that in the NBA where somebody being better coached matters?
Well, that's something for me because I've been all over Mr. Boston Celtics since he came from Butler as the best young coach in the league. But 2 years in a row, first year as his head coach last year, they didn't miss a beat before the season went out this year. What's his name? The forward really stepped up for him.
Siakam.
Pascal Siakam.
Yeah. And Kyle Lowry has turned out to not be as much of a...
Van Fleet.
Van Fleet's a bad man.
I love it.
I like how Van Fleet didn't become a player until after he had a kid, and then he blew up in the Eastern Conference Finals, and he's continued.
He's got bills to pay. He saw the Latrell Sprewell behind the music. He knows what's up.
Here's how good they are. They're up 2-0, and Mark Gasol got 0 points today.
It's not a big man's game anymore.
Yeah.
He's resting.
Ibaka got 8 points off the bench. So, I mean, there you go.
So I'm with you on Toronto because I've discounted them after the Kawhi thing. But you know what? With Kawhi, they won a title, right? And without Kawhi, like, they're still a damn good team. And
they got the chip on their shoulder right now.
Right. And they feel like they got something to prove because, hey, just because Kawhi's gone doesn't mean anything.
Yeah. Well, no, that's what Nick Nurse has been telling him since last year when he left. Hey, guys, we did this together as a team. He's a big part of it, but we can make up for that. Guys got to step up. Siakam's one of them. I really like Toronto out of the East. I still think it'll be Milwaukee, but
okay.
Toronto.
You like Toronto, but you don't like them enough to actually make a hot take here.
No
hot take. So we're still going Milwaukee, LA, or is Portland going to shock the world?
We picked the Lakers.
We did.
He picked
the Clippers.
Yeah. We're both on LA, just different sides of LA. So go Blazers.
Didn't do any better, right?
Rain Bros.
Yeah.
CJ McCollum, Dame Lillard, they're the Rain Bros.
They call them the Rain Bros. I thought, I guess without a Seattle franchise, you got to do something. Ladies and gentlemen, joining us now is apparently a lifelong Reds fan that we just found out. Being a Reds fan, I'm excited to have this guy on the show. He's thrown a perfect game. He's won a World Series. He's played in the majors for over 12 years. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Tom Browning to the show. Tom, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing very good, gentlemen. Thank you. I don't have a man cave, but I do have some pictures from that I was given, gifts and stuff. So there you go.
What all's on the wall? So take us through the pictures here. What all do you have on the wall behind you?
Okay, well, I got picture of the month back in 1989, and that's what they gave me. Oh, that was for my All-Star game. I made the All-Star team in 1991, and that's what they give you for making the All-Star team.
You look a little different now.
Yeah, I'm much prettier now. And that was for pitcher of the month right there. 1989. I think I had 5 complete games in a row. I think I was 5-0 or 6-0. I don't remember. And then that is just I got that for my 20th anniversary of my perfect game. They try to do some stuff for you, and that's Billy Hamilton and Suarez and Winker right there. If you can see him on the wall, there's free stickers. So my grandson put those up there. So
hey, that's all right. The Hamilton's not there anymore, but Suarez was, so it's all good.
No, I coached Billy when he first got drafted, when he was a shortstop and rookie ball, and man, he was fast then. Unfortunately, he just couldn't steal first base. So
that has been his problem so far. You're correct. So so after you got done playing in the majors, you did a little bit of coaching, right?
I did. Well, I took some time off. I actually went to the golf course for about, I guess, 6 straight years. I got pretty competitive there. I wanted to compete in some amateur tournaments, and it didn't take me long to realize that it was a young man's game. And I went out there and had fun, but I certainly couldn't hang with those guys because they swung so hard and they hit the ball so straight, and I was just trying to stay in the game. So, but then I got the opportunity to coach an independent team. They called the Florence Freedom in Florence, Kentucky, which is about right down the road from Cincinnati. And I put the uniform on for the first time, and I realized it felt like home to me. So I coached them for a couple years, and then the Reds got bought out by the Castellini family. And the first thing they did is they brought a bunch of us former players back. And I was just a guest coach for a couple years. And then they asked me if I'd like to get involved into the coach, maybe go coach a team. And I went to Billings, Montana my first year and had a blast. One thing when I got to Billings, Montana, my intentions were to get every pitcher on that team to the big leagues. And what ended up happening is they taught me how to be a coach. So I had to kind of put all my thought process away and just try to figure out what was best for these kids. And I'll tell you what, I had a blast. I had a lot of kids. I got to spend a lot of time with some kids that got to the big leagues. I had Amir Garrett, Tyler Molly, Michael Lorenzen, TJ Anton, who just finally got up here, and then some other regular players and stuff that I got to be around. But I'll tell you what, it was a lot of fun. I almost enjoyed coaching as much as I enjoyed playing.
Man, that's a beautiful thing. Did you teach Amir Garrett on how to take on the entire Pittsburgh Pirates if that ever came up?
No, the one thing I told Amir Garrett, I said, listen, don't be an idiot. Next time you go in with your right hand, not your left hand. You go in with your right hand.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. Hey, I thought it was unbelievable that he decided to take on that team, but I said, next time if you get into a situation like that, I don't care what kind of brawl you're in, whatever. I said, use your right hand. I said, you break your left hand, you're done for the year. So
got to protect the investment. I understand that.
Yeah.
All right. So what are you up to now, Tom? What have you been doing here lately?
Well, I got 6 grandkids that I'm raising. My youngest daughter is 19. She just moved out with her boyfriend. So I have 6 grandkids in my house. My oldest grandchild, Macy, is 18 years old today. We just had a birthday party, and then I have a grandson 15, a grandson 13, a grandson 10, a granddaughter 6, and a grandson 2.
Hey, the fact that you have all that down, that's pretty impressive. Sometimes I can't even remember the age of my own kids.
Well, don't ask me their birthdays, but I can tell you their age.
I won't put you on the spot. Right. So have you been keeping up with baseball at all this year and this shortened COVID season
absolutely.
we got? So, hey, how do you feel about the rule changes we got here going on in 2020 with the I'll just go through them here one by one. So what are your thoughts on this 10th inning ghost runner on second that we got now?
Oh, wow. We're diluting the game. We're making it the starters are only having to go 5 and 6 innings, but the extra inning, I think they're doing that. And I'm hoping it's just for this year. I don't think it's going to carry on to next year, although I don't know. I'm not a big fan, but I think with the with the situation we're in right now, a 60-game sprint, you don't want to wear your pitchers out, going to extra innings. I've seen us go 18, 19, and end up using regular players to pitch. But I think with the situation we're in right now, because of the no fans, they're trying to do everything they can to get these games in. So I think that's probably why. I know the minor leagues did it, and I think the statistics show that those games usually never went more than 11 innings.
Hey, I'm with you 100%. I hope it's just this season only because I agree with you on the extra inning thing. But Manfred likes to do some crazy shit, let's be honest, because we got the DH in the National League. We got the extra inning thing. I'm scared that they're showing it this season and they're going to try to keep it. But I hope that's not the case because I love National League baseball.
The road to hell is paved with good intentions.
I agree wholeheartedly. I'm hoping that next year the pitchers or the DH is removed from the National League. I just think it's a different game. There's more strategy involved. You got to pay attention where your pitcher's hitting in the lineup. All those things, sacrifice bunts are very prevalent in the National League. And, when you get the American League standards, you're sitting back for the 3-run homers and stuff like that. I mean, I just, I like
verbatim the last
way
week.
It was.
So speaking of pitchers hitting, do you have any idea what your career batting average was, and could you sacrifice? Because the guys today can't, obviously.
I didn't look it up, so whatever you tell us, we're going to.
It's going to be the gospel. So just tell us what it is.
I hit 300. I hit 300.
All right.
No, I think I hit half of that. I think I hit about $150, $151 in my career. The one thing I always took pride in was I wanted to make sure I was a good bunter. Because in the National League, as a starting pitcher. If you're a good bunter and something happens in the 5th or 6th inning and you got to move a guy over, if you're a terrible bunter, they're pinch hitting for you.
Right.
But if you're a good bunter, they'll give you a chance to help yourself win a ball game. Because in my day, we liked going complete games. We loved going 9 innings. I mean, it didn't happen but 10% of the time. But, man, there was nothing better for a starting pitcher than to be the first guy to shake hands with that catcher after a win.
Absolutely. So, hey, real quick, let me ask you one more thing about the rule changes. So I get that most of these were hoping, and we're with you 100%. It's just for this year. What about the 3-batter minimum? I feel like that one might be something that extends longer. Now, you're a starting pitcher back in the day, so this might have more of an impact on the relievers, but how do you feel about the 3-batter minimum?
Well, I think because they got tired of, a couple of those teams, they used a pitcher for every hitter. I mean, if there was a lefty coming up and a righty was pitching, they brought in a lefty in. And then if they pinch hit for the lefty and the next hitter, they brought in a right-hand hitter, then they would bring in a right-handed pitcher. I mean, that's the way it was. And it took, well, these games take forever now anyway. I think they're trying to find a way to speed up the game. You want to speed up the game, keep that pitcher on the mound and keep that batter near the batter's box so we don't waste too much time. I mean, there's guys that have these routines where they got to change or fix their batting gloves and pull their pants up and adjust their cup and then stand in the box, all those things. I didn't like that. I just like to get the ball and throw it. And I early guys before me, I actually pitched a game, I think, against Jerry Kuzman. His last year, he's with the Phillies, and I think he beat me like 3-1. I think the game took like an hour and 45 minutes.
Man, that's insane compared to now.
But now I will say this: that, the in between innings, they got the radio, the 2 minutes now. World Series, it's 3 minutes in between innings. So I mean, that's why these games are taken. They don't ever say anything about them commercials they play every half inning for 2.5 minutes. And you can't go without the umpire saying, okay, the commercial's over, you can start and stuff like that. But you're not going to speed up this game with all these commercials. And again, this is I don't know. It's a different ball game now. It's more commercialized. There's obviously more media, more internet, everything else. I mean, you could watch a game every night now, sometimes two. Back when I was growing up, we got Saturday game of the week, and then we were fortunate enough they brought out Monday Night Baseball too. So we got 2 games a week. And this is in Wyoming where we didn't have a major league team. So I'm not sure how it worked in Cincinnati if they showed a lot of those games on the local TV or not. But, there's so much out there now. These kids are seeing so much on the internet. They can watch replays. They can watch how guys flip their bats so they can do it the same way, all those things. I mean, I think it's changed. It's changed because it's not just baseball anymore. There's a lot of things that come into play, and obviously they're making a ton of money now.
Hey, I'm sure you didn't listen to our show last week, but we, for whatever reason, we had back-to-back major league pitchers on here, and the guy we had last week was Ray King, who played in the league for over 10 years. Oh, yeah. And he said almost the exact same thing that you just said about the reason why the game is so long. It's not about the play on the field. It's the fact that we've just moved ahead with all this advertising and marketing and whatnot. So, we're just sitting here laughing because it's almost a verbatim answer, the exact same thing. So I appreciate the take you have there, and it makes us realize that, yeah, that must be what the situation is now.
Well, it's like I said, it's just different now. It's just everything is more polished. Everything is glamorized. Uniforms, they got to make sure them uniforms, we didn't really care. We just had a uniform, we put it on, went out and played, but now they want to go in the mirror and make sure that everything looks good. And, and that's just a few guys. But I just think because, the corporate sponsors, Fox, anybody else, I think Fox dictates the playoffs now because they're in charge of, they're paying the money. So money rules the day. And, those guys and the sponsors that they're having, I remember when they talked about I remember trying to walk into a sports book room in Vegas, and a guy stopped me and said, "You're not allowed in here because you're a major league player. You're not allowed to gamble." I couldn't believe I heard that. But now they're one of our sponsors. So it's just my thing, how things have changed,
So I wanted to ask you this while we're talking about stuff going on in the current game. So the big news of the week was the stuff that happened with Fernando Tatis, and he hit that grand slam when they were already up 7 runs and all that. So as a pitcher, what are your thoughts on that? Is that showmanship to the nth degree? Do you throw at a guy like that, or is that just do people need to get over it and it's just part of the game? What do you think about all this?
Well, don't throw it down the middle next time.
All right,
thank you.
Got behind the guy 3-0. Was he supposed to take a pitch because you're behind 3-0? I've had plenty of guys swing. I don't know if I've ever given up a 3-run homer. A grand slam with I've given up grand slams, but not on a 3-0 count. I don't think I ever have, but I've given up plenty of hits because those hitters now, they know what's coming. And if it's in their zone, these young kids, they're ready to shine and show what they're made of. But I have no problem with him hitting a home run. And the fact that they were beating the snot out of the Rangers, probably didn't set well with the Rangers. But, I don't care what they say. If you got a bat and you're still at the plate and you want to swing, you swing. I got no problem with it. Heck.
Two things. The Padres are only winning 7-0, so that's not like you can overcome that amount in a big league game. It's 7-0. It's not like it's like 15-0, 20-0.
It's not like they quit playing.
Right. And secondly, it wasn't too long ago when the Rangers beat the Orioles 30-3. 30-3.
How do you score 30 runs?
And now you're mad because somebody dropped 11 on you? Get over it. Don't groove it down the middle.
Short memory. Oh, yeah. what the heck?
For everybody out there that say pitchers are the reason why this happens, that they're soft, Tom Browning is telling us otherwise. He's saying just throw the ball the way you should. It'll be fine. Don't let him hit the home run.
Right. Make a better pitch.
I'm glad to hear that.
It's a moot point. It's baseball. You're supposed to swing. It doesn't matter what the count is now. Late in the game, if it's like if we got a 5 or 6 run lead, I think that was kind of the benchmark. We didn't steal. You didn't steal late in the game. But, if a guy hits a ball out of the ballpark because you hung a fastball, well, that's nothing you can do about that. So
absolutely.
But there's unwritten rules, but there's nothing that says you can't swing 3-0 beating somebody 7-0. There's nothing in there. And
I love it.
They got their feelings hurt because they were getting the snot beat out of them.
Exactly. Well, hey, Tom, I do want to transition here now. I want to ask you a couple questions here. So I got a baseball trivia question for you. So do you know how many pitchers have had 20 wins in their rookie season since 1954?
Well, that Grimm fellow was the last one besides me.
It was
that was 54. So you're the only guy since 1954 in the modern era to have 20 wins as a rookie. How does that feel?
Well, let me preface all this. My pitching coach was Jim Cott. Okay, do you remember Jim Cott?
Absolutely.
He loved 4-man rotation. He actually talked Pete Rose into going to a 4-man rotation to start the year in 1985. 1985, we broke camp with 9 pitchers, 4 starters and 5 relievers. And we did that for about a month and a half, and then we went to a 5-man for a little bit. And then towards the after the All-Star break, Pete came up to me and said, "You're pitching the rest of the year on 3 days rest." So I had 39 starts, I think, that year, 38 or 39, I can't remember. But I had, I was very fortunate. I think I won my last 11 in a row, but I had some good offense and, was fortunate to be in the right place at the right time. So I'll take it, though.
He's being humble because I don't care what the situation was. Dude, you're the only one since 1954. And that's why I love baseball, because that's the one sport where you have these stats. It would be people that you have anybody that can be rising up to the top and have this stat like this. So
stats don't lie.
I think it's awesome. So, because today they would never do that. Never.
Oh, heck no.
No. So tip of the cap to Mr. Brown.
Absolutely.
We get another tip of the cap because you also have the distinguished honor of throwing a perfect game, and not many men have walked through the dugout or the tunnel and been able to say they've done that. Take us through that process. When did you realize that was happening, or were you on keeping tabs on it throughout the game? A perfect game is amazing. So what's your thought process during that?
And at what point did everyone quit talking to you?
It was a 2.5-hour rain delay. We didn't start the game till 10 o'clock.
I didn't know that.
Because it was September. The Dodgers were in town. It was their last trip. They were in first place. We were still in the pennant race. But they usually, because the game was at 7:35, and at 9:30 it was still raining. So I anticipated that we were going to play a doubleheader the next day. So I went inside because I sat out in the tunnel or out in the dugout to watch it rain, I suppose. But anyway, at 9:30 I started getting undressed, thinking we were playing a doubleheader the next day. A ground crew guy comes around the corner and said, "Hey, we got a window. We're going at 10." And if it wasn't for AstroTurf, we'd have never played, because it rained all day. So anyway, I was facing Tim Belcher and the Dodgers. And Timmy Belcher, who ended up becoming a very good friend of mine, I faced the Dodgers to start before that, and he actually hit a home run off me. Hit a 2-run homer off me on something off the shoe tops. But anyway, he took a no-hitter with me into the 6th inning. I had a perfect game. He had a no-hitter going into the 6th inning. Barry Larkin hits a double. Sabo hits a ground ball. They kind of screwed up, and Larkin scores. And that is when it kind of set in a little bit. But, again, because I grew up a Reds fan. I grew up a Dodger hater. I did not need extra I didn't need any extra motivation to pitch against the Dodgers. But then it was kind of that's when your teammates start, you're like Moses parting the Red Sea. As soon as you come in the dugout, they just kind of fall to the side and get out of the way because they don't want to rub up against you or whatever. So, but after the 7th inning, I got through the top of the lineup, the first, second, third hitter. I struck Kirk Gibson out, and he ended up getting thrown out of the game. And they asked him after the game what he thought about the perfect game. And he said, "Well, I still haven't seen one." Which is true because he was in the
he wasn't there to see it.
He got thrown out of the game, so he didn't get to see the end of it. So I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
But then, the 7th inning and then the 8th inning it was kind of quick, the 9th inning. And there was I think there were 16,000 tickets sold. I think there may have been a 5,000, somewhere around there, people that actually stuck around. And in the 9th inning, I'm going to tell you, it sounded like a full house. It sounded like that place was packed. There was so much energy there. The yelling was magnified. Everything was magnified. And I just tried to stay calm and keep my wits about me because, I still had – it was only 1-0, so I didn't really want to make a mistake. And, 9th inning came up. I got the first 2 guys out. I think actually I got Rick Dempsey. I think he flew out to right field. And then Steve Sachs swung at the first pitch, hit a ground ball kind of up the middle that Barry picked and threw him out. And then a guy named Tracy Woodson came up and pinch hit for Timmy Belcher. And I'd played against Tracy in the minor leagues. He liked that fastball up. He just couldn't hit it. He liked swinging at it. He just never could get to it. So my objective there, when he came up to the plate, I said, I need get 2 strikes as quick as I can on him, and that's where I'm going to get him out. And it took me 4 pitches. I got a 2-2 count, and I ended up throwing a pitch up and in, and he swung and missed, and, it was kind of cool after that.
Well, a couple things. For one, whatever reason, it seems like no hitters in perfect games always are like 1-0 or 2-0. So I know that just adds to the pressure. But out of the over 200,000 games that have been played in Major League Baseball, there's only been 23 perfect games. So you got one of them, man. That's awesome.
And there's only been one perfect game on AstroTurf.
I didn't know that. See, you can learn something listening to this show right there. Tom Browning's educating the masses.
Just ask me how great I was. I'll tell you.
That's phenomenal. Well, hey, one of the reasons why we think you're great, or at least some of our followers think you're great, is there was this incident at Wrigley Field. Can you tell us a little bit about what happened there?
Another career highlight, yeah. Well, actually, we went into Pittsburgh before that trip and ran into a pitcher on the team. He now does TV for him, Bob Walk.
Okay.
When they were in Chicago, he got the ground crew guy to get him up into that scoreboard in center field. So when we went to Pittsburgh, we were talking, and he said, "Hey, man, when you get a chance, when you go to Chicago, hook up with Terry," or I think his name was Terry. He said, "The ground crew guy, he'll get you into the scoreboard." So that was my intention. I said, "Oh, cool. All right." So we go out there for batting practice, and I go down the right field line where the ground crew guys were, and I start walking, and I see him, and he sees me, and he starts shaking his head. He said, "You want to get in the scoreboard, don't you?" And I said, "I do." He said, "Well, I can't. I got in trouble for allowing the last guy in there, so there's nothing I can do." So we went out for batting practice, and Timmy Belcher was on the team then, and him and I went out there for batting practice. We're standing around. And I said, what about one of those buildings? Wouldn't it be kind of cool to sneak over in one of them buildings? So after batting practice, we went inside, and the clubhouse manager, Tom Hellman, I said, "You don't happen to know anybody that owns them buildings across the street, do you?" He said, "Yeah, his name is George Lucas. Not the George Lucas, but a George Lucas." I said, "Do you have his phone number?" He said, "Yeah." So get him on the phone for me. So he got him on the phone. I said, "George," I told him who I was. "I'm with the Reds. I'd like to sneak over, maybe sit on one of your rooftops, maybe half an inning." He said, "That'd be so cool. Why don't you meet me out in front of Murphy's Pub in the top of the third inning?" And I said, "Okay." So I said, "I'll have a black sweatsuit on to get me out of the building." So I snuck over to the roof. I got up there. I took my hat off. I waved to my boys in the bullpen, took my hat off, waved to them. They waved back. I hung out there for a little bit longer. I was there for the half an inning. And then, but we took the lead 4-3 while I was there. So I got back in the dugout in the top of the fourth inning, and we ended up winning the ball game 4-3. And after the game, I completely forgot about the whole incident until Davey Johnson tapped me on the shoulder and said, "I need to see you in the principal's office." So, so I went in there, and he kind of tore into me a little bit, and I let him know, because that was the year Tony Perez got fired. And I'll tell you right now, when Tony Perez got fired, you could have just canceled the season for us, because we wanted to play for him more than anybody. But that was, again, a career highlight, but it worked out great. We go into our next road trip was the Marlins had just come into the league, and Wayne Huizinga, the owner of the Marlins, sent his secretary down to our clubhouse. He wanted me to sit in his restaurant in right center field sometime during the game too.
You developed that reputation, huh?
Well, that was a Jim Bowden era. I said, "No, this guy wants to release me or trade me or get rid of me, so I better not do it." So.
So I don't know if you can see it on my phone or not, but I actually have that picture of you sitting on the rooftop there. So you had your unis on and everything. Like you had the black, you had the black sweatsuit on before you went over there, but you looked like you just came out of the game.
Yeah, well, I looked like I was mad because I got taken out.
So I'm just going to go across the street and sit on the rooftop.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as starting pitchers, if I may, we get 4 days off in between starts. So you find a lot of silly things to do. We used to play a lot of golf and to kind of pass the time away. Going to Atlanta, play with the Smoltzy, Glavin, and Mad Dog, or they come to us and do the same thing. And, I got to know, a lot of pitchers kind of try to play golf with one another, at least hang out a little bit. So.
I hate to bring this up, so I hope you don't hang up on me immediately as soon as I ask this, but as a Reds fan, I remember when this happened like yesterday. So, you had a pretty good start to your career, and then there was a fateful day, I believe in 1994, where, people recall the Joe Theismann incident for the Redskins, but you kind of had an injury incident too. What the hell happened, man? That was terrible.
I was like Dave Dravecki. Remember Dave Dravecki breaking his arm?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, he had cancer on the bone, on a humerus, and he had to have it shaved, so it actually weakened it. And that's the reason he broke his. Now, mine, I broke the same way, but I had 8 or 9 years where I had 200-plus innings every year, and then I got hurt. I tore my knee up. I broke my finger. I missed half of 2 years back-to-back, so I wasn't really stressing my arm like it was used to being stressed, so it actually got a little bit.
This was the year you were supposed to be healthy, right?
Correct. Correct. Well, I mean, I was healthy. I started the year off. I had back-to-back complete games, and then all of a sudden my arm started hurting, and then I warmed up for that game in San Diego. I bet I didn't throw 70 miles an hour on any pitch. My arm was killing me. Instead of being a smart guy and say, listen, man, my arm's killing me, I tried to be a tough guy and go out there and pitch. I took a no-hitter into the 5th inning, and I was throwing what I call doo-doo. And I don't think I threw anything over 70 miles an hour, but I didn't give up a hit. So then I got in the 6th inning, and I had a man on second, third with 2 outs, and a guy named Archie Cianfranco, who played Legion ball in Rome, New York, and was coached by one of my teammates from Lemoyne, a guy named Tony Abone. But anyway, I knew Archie. I mean, I knew of him because he was from Rome. But anyway, I got 2 strikes on him, and I tried to reach back for a little bit extra, and the force didn't the force, the torque of the muscle, the bone wasn't able to handle the torque, so it actually gave. And they said I had a stress fracture in there already, which is why I was hurting. But again, like I was an idiot trying to pitch through it, but I ended up breaking it. I thought my arm fell off. I remember going down, and I remember Barry Larkin coming to the mound, because I wouldn't look at my left side because I felt like my arm actually fell off. And I said, Barry, is my arm still there? And he said, yeah. And I said, did that run score? And he goes, yeah, the guy from second almost scored 2 because you weren't there to back up. So that's
wow.
But that's, that's again, I got through it. I ended up pitching that winter in Puerto Rico, although not very hard and not very well. But I needed to pitch again. In fact, the first time I played catch, I actually went out to Arizona to see Terry Francona because he was coaching out there in the fall league, and he actually coached Michael Jordan that year.
Okay.
So my brother lived out there, so I went out there to see my brother, and I stopped over to see Terry, and we were sitting there talking. Michael Jordan came in, he introduced him, shook his hand, whatever. And then Terry said, you want to go play catch? I said, oh, my God, I haven't played catch since I broke my arm. So we went out there, and, my first toss was maybe 10 feet, and it was as gentle as you could do, but as we got into it, I said, oh, it doesn't feel bad at all. And then I started playing regular catch because my arm could handle it. I just didn't have the strength because I had all those shoulder muscles atrophy and stuff while I sat in a cast for however long, so, sure. But it felt good to throw. I ended up going to Puerto Rico. I ended up signing with Kansas City, and Bob Boone was the manager.
Okay.
And Bob Boone caught all my bullpens. Yeah, that's how soft I threw.
Hey, at least you came back though. That's what's amazing because I remember when that happened. Like you could hear it like on TV. It was that bad. So I mean, it's like I said, there's a Joe Theismann moment for most NFL fans out there, but to me, as a Reds fan, this one's right up there with it.
Yeah. There's 4 of us that have done it in the major leagues, and all 4 of them are lefties.
Oh,
Smiley did it. Tony Saunders did it, and then Dravecki and myself. So, but you know what? I mean, I wish I could have stuck around and played forever, but I got a World Series, I got a perfect game. I got, met some absolutely awesome teammates. I don't regret anything. I wish it hadn't happened, but it did, and I'm okay with it. But I certainly, had some fun while I was there, and I, had some success too.
Hey, no doubt. Hey, before we let you go and we wrap up, I did want to ask you about that 1990 team. So I have the Wheaties box of the Cincinnati Reds 1990 World Series. So I believe you're on the cover of that Wheaties box. I can't
I'm on
swear about it.
I'm on the back.
Okay, you're at least on the back. So you made the box anyway. So what was that year like? Because I even remember as a kid going into the World Series thinking you guys were going to get hammered by the Bash Brothers and the A's and all that, and y'all swept them.
Yeah, we got no love whatsoever. Sports Illustrated had a big A's on the cover, and then down in the right-hand corner it had Reds. You know, you could barely see it for crying out loud. So, yeah, we were serious underdogs, but we had the nasty boys in the bullpen. If we had a lead after the sixth inning, that game was over. Those guys came in and just shut the door when needed. And we also had Jose Rijo, who was probably the best pitcher in baseball at that time. He dominated. So, and me, I scored, I think, 8 runs or 10 runs, whatever, for game 3. So, I mean, but that was a group of guys. And, we were hoping that we would get together this year, but because of the coronavirus, we didn't get to have our reunion, our 30-year reunion, whatever. So, but it's always fun being around those guys because we had so much fun, and we would go out in packs. We wouldn't go out, a couple guys, a couple 3. We'd go out in 6, 7, 8 guys, and we'd take over a bar or just go to a bar and do whatever. We probably drank some beer, I'm sure. So,
well, if you guys do that again, you need to invite us. We'll come with you. I'll protect you, Tom.
That's fine. That's fine. We can do that. But we just had, everybody. We had such good guys, and then, Glenn Bright came over in a trade. They released Ken Griffey Sr.
Yeah,
because Lou wanted to get somebody eligible for the playoffs, so we had to bring him up like in end of August, to be eligible. But Griff wasn't hurt, so they ended up releasing him, and he got to go play with his son, which was really cool.
Sure,
and they both hit homers and that kind of thing. But that was a good group of guys. Griff had a lot to do with that team early on, and then he had obviously he left in August, but. He kind of took care of us. He put us under his wing, a lot like Dave Parker did when Dave Parker was with us. He just kind of took care of the young guys, and that's what Griff did. But Lou Piniella was a manager, and he used to spit fire. He used to get so angry. But I got to give him a lot of the credit because he kind of got us in line, and we went out there and played. And if he didn't like what he was seeing, he didn't mind telling you.
I imagine that was probably the case.
But yeah, that was a lot of fun. That was probably my favorite year. The parade we had downtown, I felt like I was in New York, I mean, it was just ticker tape everywhere. We were celebrated and it was awesome.
Well, that's why you're in the Reds Hall of Fame, right?
Well, that probably didn't hurt.
Hey, so last thing before we wrap up, there's one more thing I wanted to ask because, myself, Mr. Brown, we have a certain kind of stance we take on this subject, but the fact that you kind of was around him, Pete Rose, I just want to ask you, are you a supporter for him being in the Hall of Fame, or do you think where we're at right now is acceptable?
I hope while he's still on this earth that he gets a chance to get in the Hall of Fame. The guy with more hits than anybody else is not in the Hall of Fame. I mean, there's some guys in there that were really bad people. Ty Cobb wasn't a nice guy.
Thank you.
I think now with the where we are, I thought maybe with the what was it called, the PEDs or whatever it was.
Sure.
I think when that came in there that might open up the door for him a little bit, but I just hope. I mean, yeah, I was awesome playing for him. Used to watch, and he was a professional. I mean, when he was still playing, he if he'd go out there and make an out, he'd come back and look at his bat and see where he made contact and that kind of thing. I mean, he was. Well, he did it for 20-something years. So, but he was an awesome coach. He was an awesome teammate. I grew up adoring the Big Red Machine. So, fortunately for me, a lot of them have become friends. So, which I think is really cool. But I mean, they made an impression on me as a kid, and it was kind of neat that I was able to at least play on the team that they all played on, and it was my favorite team. So, but yeah, I just. There's a certain mystique about being a Red. I mean, there's certain, just for whatever reason. I remember Johnny Crook. We played together in amateur ball right before the year he got drafted. He left after 2 weeks, and we were playing in Virginia. And he ended up signing with the Padres. But he always wanted to play for the Reds as well. He kept trying to, every time he'd see Pete, hey, Pete, get me over there, get me over there.
A West Virginia boy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I love Crookie, man. He was fun to be around.
I agree with you on Pete Rose. Like, people want to debate about what he did as a manager or didn't do. That's fine, but like, you cannot debate what he did as a player. And he's one of the best hitters that ever lived. You put his ass in the Hall of Fame because he earned it as a player. No questions asked. Right. That's my opinion.
If you don't want to let him like manage again or be around the team, that's fine. But like, as far as like I'm concerned for the fans, let us celebrate that. Like what he did on the field.
Well,
like,
you know what? They finally let him in the Reds Hall of Fame, which was awesome.
And they should.
Yeah. Oh, it was great. He was. I mean, again, he did so much, and I mean that guy. How about this month? I don't remember if it was in '78. I don't know if it was June or July, but he went 5 for 5 on the first day of the month. Went 5 for 5 on the last day of the month. and got 50 hits in between.
Oh, that's insane.
Wow. Yeah, that's pretty good month.
60, I had 60 hits in my career. And he did it in a month.
But he's not in the Hall of Fame. That's okay.
No. He should be.
But hey, Tom, above everything else, I appreciate the fact you've been a lifelong Reds fan. We appreciate the stories. Man, it's been a pleasure talking to you. We'd like to have you back on the show at some point if you ever want to talk baseball again.
Well, you got all my information, so you can find me if you need me.
That's
sure.
right. We'll sell it on the internet in the meantime, but until then, we know how to get a hold of you.
Do you pull for the Mountaineers?
We absolutely.
Okay, Huggy Bear, you like Huggy?
Oh, how can you not like Huggy Bear?
Yeah.
Except
that mustard suit he wears.
Go get it. Wait. Hey, don't knock the mustard suit, but we're in Mr. Brown's man cave here. He's got to show you this before we go.
Okay.
Can you see this picture?
It's the mustard suit.
It's the mustard suit. Yeah. It's an autographed mustard suit picture of Bob Huggins.
Oh yeah.
Hey, awesome that's the Cincinnati to WVU connection right there, baby.
Oh yeah. Well, I just want to say thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure reliving this. And if you need me again or we want to do this again, you can certainly holler at me. But I certainly enjoyed this and talking about things that some kid came up the other day and said, I got some of your cards. I said, well, then you have some really old cards.
Hey, don't feel bad. I got them too. Hey, you know what? God willing, the Reds are going to make the playoffs, and I'd bring you back on an heartbeat just to talk about that.
Yeah. I'd be all up for that.
Hey, they lost the first half of the doubleheader, but they're winning right now.
Good. Take a split. We'll take a split.
Hey, we'll take what we can right now. Tom, we appreciate having you on the show, brother. Thank you so much. We'll talk to you soon.
You got it, guys. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Man, we had way too much fun talking to Tom Browning this week. This has been the We Don't Know Sports podcast. We hope you enjoyed the interview. We look forward to seeing you guys next week. We got a special guest from Sirius XM Radio. She is all about fantasy football. We'll have her here same time next week. Make sure you click subscribe. Follow us wherever you listen to podcasts. This has been the We Don't Know Sports podcast. We'll see you next week. Have a good weekend.